Welcome to Out and About. In today's program, we speak to Anneliek Sijbrandij, the founder of the annual Verbier Art Summit taking place end of January 2020. Hi, Anneliek.
Hi, Tanya.
So before we talk about the summit itself, I would like to talk about you. You've worked as a tax lawyer in London before you started the Verbier Art Summit. At some point, you quit your job, studied art, and then I just wonder, how did then Verbier happen?
Exactly, yeah. So I worked as a tax lawyer for over 12 years in London. Very busy hours. I had 3 children and then decided, okay, there must be more to life than this. So I quit my job, studied modern and contemporary art, and then my husband could take a 6-month sabbatical. So it was always our dream to go to Verbier, live on top of the mountain with the 3 children. And then the plan was to go skiing for 6 months, but I actually ended up working very hard and launching the Verbier Art Summit.
But this idea just happened?
I met lots of art collectors when I got there, and they were from many different countries. They didn't know each other, so I started to connect them. They were all very interested. What is happening in the art scene in London? Can you tell us a bit more? And then slowly but certainly together we kind of designed this idea of organizing something new. I very much love art, but I think a lot of the discussions are always about the commercial value of art, whereas I think the cultural value of art is much more important. Okay.
But was this a spontaneous thing, or did you always have in mind to do something like that?
No. I just thought I would go skiing for 6 months, enjoy myself, and go back to my old job. But actually, because we were going on a sabbatical, a friend of mine gave me a book called The Artist Way by Julia Cameron. And it gives you like a 12-week program to release your creative self. And as a tax lawyer, I obviously had a very analytical job, so I was never in touch with my creative self. And through this book, it really helped in coming up with a new idea. Really.
So you say a new idea. Nevertheless, there are many art talks happening in the mountainous regions.
Yeah.
Alpine art salons seem to be on vogue. There's the Engadine Art Talks existing for 10 years now, the Elevation event in Gstaad every 2 years, and now Verbier Art Summit. And all this happens around this, in the same month, like the WEF in Davos.
Yeah.
So was another event in the mountains needed?
I didn't know about any of the other events, to be honest. The first person from the art world that I really met was Beatrix. And
who is involved in the
Engadine Art Talks? Yeah, so the director of the Kunsthalle is always involved with Engadine Art Talks. And she was actually transitioning to the Netherlands. She became the director of the Stedelijk Museum. And we kind of brainstormed about this idea, and she was very interested in creating really a task force that is focused on generating change. So then she actually co-designed the first art summit together with me and the founding members in Verbier, so the international art collectors that I met. And then together with the Stedelijk Museum team, we curated the first edition.
So, but still, was it needed? Was another event needed in Switzerland, such a small country, having Engadine Art Talks?
Yeah, I think the more art talks that start happening, the better. These are really think tanks, at least what we do, focused on generating change. Olafur Eliasson was one of our speakers in 2018, and he said people don't trust politics anymore. The economy has been, not very good to our planet. People look at art for change, and he told our entire audience, everybody who's in this audience has an important role to play. So for me, the more art talks, the better.
So you mentioned you want to drive change, you want to generate dialogue between thought leaders, significant art world figures, with the goal of driving that social change. But critics could say, people at summits are all about talk and no action. Can you give a few examples where you had an impact or how you can measure it?
Yeah. It's very hard to measure cultural impact. It's not like the economy and you have data. What we see is that things change after the summit. Last year, one of our speakers was Naine Terena, an indigenous leader from Brazil, who was invited by Jochem Volts, the director of Pinacoteca in Sao Paulo, who curated the summit. And she came to Verbier. She would have never gone to Switzerland otherwise. And after the summit, she spoke at the UN. literally the day after the summit ended, which is something that would have never happened before. And it was at the time of the Brumadinho disaster. So she could explain, you know, what were the effects to her peoples. And I think these are very important changes, obviously.
How did that happen? Did they hear about her coming, or did you, told about her?
Yeah, no, actually one of our other speakers, Tania Bruguera from Cuba, who was actually in detention until right the summit started, she had an appointment at the UN to talk about human rights in her country. And she said, okay, after she met Naina, you should come to this meeting because it's important that they also hear about indigenous rights in Brazil. One of our cultural partners is UNHCR, the UN Refugee Agency.
I wonder why.
Yeah, we had a political theme. We are many last year, or this year, it was actually in 2019 with Jochem Volts. And we want to collaborate with institutions that raise awareness. And obviously refugees are very important, also in time of ecological change, for example. So this year we're still partnering with them as well.
But what does that mean if you partner?
Yeah, so they are a cultural partner. And last year they invited Barbara Hendricks as a speaker to come to the Verbier Art Summit. And she basically spoke about her role as an activist and that she had been an ambassador for UNHCR for a very long time. And Tania Bruguera got very inspired by this, and she now also became an ambassador for UNHCR. So it's this kind of connections that we are obviously hoping to generate as well.
So the talks are free of charge to attend. So I guess the budget for 3 days might be quite high. Can you tell us in what frame that is?
Yeah. So we're very lucky that the commune de Bagne, so the canton of Verbier and Valais, were very helpful in the beginning because, we started, with these founding members in Verbier, international art collectors, and we needed some public support. So they believed in this idea from the start and helped us launch the summit. And then we also have these founding members group and other members that became part of our platform, and they donate up to half of the budget. Lots of donations in kind also, helping us with all sorts of things. So people are contributing both financially, but mostly with their intellect, connecting us to the right people, bringing new ideas, such as a partnership with UNHCR came through one of our founding members.
And then the other half of your budget?
And the other half is
sponsoring. And
so mostly public institutions and foundations. And then we have a few corporate sponsors as well.
Okay. So you don't want to mention the actual total thing. Can you tell us what is the biggest donation you got from private individual?
It's all very small amounts, to be honest.
Okay.
So
it's many small amounts.
It's many small amounts. Yeah, our member platform is 150 people, and it changes every year depending on the topic. So this year, because of the ecological theme, we will have more people that are interested in that direction. We are collaborating with 2 of our speakers this year to produce a zine, which will be a magazine that will be distributed mostly to universities to raise more awareness with art students and ecological students this year to come to Verbier. And that is, for example, then donated by one of our principal members.
Okay, but so how do you keep costs low if you never know? Sometimes it's a donation, sometimes it's this.
Yeah, basically we don't make the cost until we have a donation for it. So the zine project came about, then we look, is there somebody interested to help us with that? And we keep costs low by, for example, hosting all of our speakers in the private chalets of our founding members.
So they stay not in hotels.
Exactly, but these chalets are great as well. And it also gives a different atmosphere. So people are in somebody's home, they are sitting on the couch, you might sit next to Naina Terena, the fire is on, it's snowing outside. It gives a very different atmosphere from being in a conference room or a gallery or an auction house where people normally meet. And this gives deeper conversations.
So you mentioned one of your rules is to keep the summit as a non-transactional setting. So no art, commerce, influence, no galleries, auction house involved as sponsors. Why that?
I think if we keep this very clean and we give the museum director with whom we partner really a carte blanche to come up with a theme that they are interested in to develop, and invite speakers that they are just interested in as a group, to bring them together because they are inspired by them or because they've been meaning to meet with them, then it is much more interesting than if you have galleries or people from art fairs or auction houses who always have a secondary interest because they want to promote this artist, or they're interested in this direction because it's part of their exhibition. Now it's fully clean slate.
But it might still be nice to, that any transaction could happen out of that.
For sure. And we bring together art world people, and gallerists are obviously part of that as well. And I'm very happy for them to connect and new things to happen. So they are part of the member platform. We just don't involve them as sponsors.
And most of the sponsors, I saw the names are Swiss. Why not the international ones to expand the reach?
Yeah, we will try. We only just got started.
It's the 4th year.
Yeah, exactly. So in the beginning, we just wanted to make sure that all our partners really understood what we're trying to achieve, and that it doesn't become, like you said, with lots of different side events or corporate parties around it, because that's not what we're about. So we need to find partners that understand the concept and truly believe that what we do is important. And so it's more of a corporate responsibility program than an ordinary sponsorship.
Then the summit happens at the same time as the fair ARTGENÈVE. Is this intentionally?
Yes. So we were talking to ARTGENÈVE about it, that it would be great if they could air our live stream of the talks. So our entire talks program is live streamed, making it available to students all over the world or other people interested in art and innovation. And they screen it at the fair, which is great. And they even invite their VIPs to come to Verbier to attend the talks in the afternoon.
So they invite them, and I read in Tribune de Genève that there are helicopters flying from Palexpo in Genève, from the art fair, to Verbier to bring the people to the mountains. So basically you can talk art in Verbier and buy it in Geneva.
Exactly. I don't think that actually happened last year, but they did offer it. Okay. Indeed.
And if I think about your theme this year, the environment, and then about the helicopters flying around.
Yeah, like that is ARTGENÈVE. Obviously, we couldn't afford and wouldn't want any helicopters coming. So we transport all our speakers, even by train from Geneva Airport. And if the travel is under 6 hours, we offer train instead of airplanes, actually. So that's
within
part
Europe?
of our environmental policy, yeah. So from Paris, you would take the train.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what about overseas? They fly business?
No, everybody flies economy, and that's just a set rule that we have.
So you've expanded to Brazil as well this year with the Verbier Art Summit. You had something happening at the Pinacoteca do Estado in São Paulo.
Yes.
So tell me more about expanding the Verbier Art Summit internationally. Is that an intent?
Yeah, that's a very strategic decision. So we really want to establish it as a global platform. And by working together with museum directors from different continents, we reach different groups of people, different journalists also that follow with these museum directors. So this year we're working together, or 2020, with a US museum director, and then the year after we'll move to Asia. And then we're interested to work together with Africa, so really to represent issues, big social issues in all of these continents, and become a global platform.
That reminds me a little bit of the World Economic Forum. It also has events in China, in South Africa, or Art Basel that is also exporting their brand. But how soon can you do that? Are you not afraid that it waters it down?
Well, the event is in Verbier, so that is very clear. And we bring the US Museum Director to Verbier, and then next year China to Verbier. But by collaborating, for example, we then have the book launch, which follows after each of the summits. And it's kind of essays by the same speakers, or sometimes we transcribe their talks. But it's really the content of the summit that is in this publication, and that is launched at the museum with whom we've collaborated. So we have a small event in that particular country every year, but the main thing is really in Verbier.
Then I've mentioned that you worked as a tax lawyer before. I wonder, how does this help you when it comes to the business part, financing part? I mean, you must be good at it.
Exactly. I do our own accounting. Obviously, we have an accountant in Verbier, but that definitely helps. And for example, I'm also focused, because it's an international platform, how can we, for example, give our private donors tax deductions? So we started to collaborate with a Swiss partner, a European partner actually, that then offers tax deductions for every European country that donates to our non-profit. So yeah, I am aware of these opportunities, and then we'll definitely use them.
That's a win-win for both.
Exactly, yeah.
You mentioned European countries. You're also headquartered in the Netherlands. If I think about Swiss-European relations, I don't know if you're aware, but there are a bit of tensions between Brussels and Bern. There's no framework agreement signed yet. Is this something that concerns you?
No, I'm very happy to be in Verbier. I think it's such an inspirational place, which is also why I came up with this idea whilst being there. It's got like a certain energy that you don't find anywhere else.
So not thinking of moving over the border to France?
No, a lot of people have asked us actually since the very first summit. So maybe in the future, but as you say, we are only just getting started, and I think it's very important to establish ourselves here in Switzerland.
What are the challenges that you're facing?
Many, of course, but I think to be a global platform, you need representatives from all different countries. And with a small budget, that's not always easy to fly in people from all over the world. We're expanding the team now, so we're professionalizing the organization, which means, less volunteers and a bigger budget eventually. That's the way we're growing at the moment.
So the Verbier Art Summit takes place end of January. Is this date intentionally as well?
Yeah, we work together very closely with the Commune and Verbier Promotion. And they asked us to pick this weekend because it's their biggest dip in the winter season. So after Christmas and then just before the February holidays start, it's generally very quiet. So it was a great date to
bring back people to the mountains.
Bring new tourism.
How else do you collaborate with them in bringing people to Verbier?
Well, we're a global platform, so we are interested to go to new continents. But we don't mind exactly where or when. So I asked the Verbier Promotion team, which tourism are you interested in? And they actually indicated US, China. So this is why we went there.
That's why you're,
collaborating with the museum directors from those regions.
Then I wish you good luck with that. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Tanya. Thank you.